an unusual private dependency case filed by his mother, Ms. Namer Jackson, who's represented by Ms. Brinson. We're conducting this judicial review hearing virtually using Zoom. And we have the attorney and guardian ad litem for the child, Ms. Miller, the defects case manager, Mr. Turnipseed, also Ms. Ruth Fincher, and their supervisor, Ms. White. Actually, I don't think Ms. White supervises Mr. Turnipseed because he's in foster care. At least he was the last I remember. We have Ms. Terry, who is the therapist at Coastal Harbor, where the child is placed. The child is not in DFACS's custody, but DFACS has been assisting with locating resources, etc. And I already mentioned the mother and her attorney, or Ms. Brinson is her name, the lawyer, and Mr. Overman is the attorney for DFACS. Ms. Miller, when we first went on the line, before you got here, Mr. Overman asked for the child not to be in the hearing initially, and so I've introduced or reintroduced myself to him and his case manager, Ms. Wagner, and they're back in the waiting room waiting for us to bring them back. And now Ms. Howard, who is the supervisor for Ms. White, and well, actually, I think she and Ms. White are both, I don't know. Anyway, I know they're both supervisors, but whatever. I'm letting her in, and she generally just monitors the hearings. I think she's Ms. Fincher's supervisor. I don't. Ms. Miller, you seem to have a handle on things, so I'm going to let you. And I don't say that to suggest that nobody else does. I'm just by default. I'm going to let you guide our review and tell me what you want to know, what you want me to know on behalf of the child. I know I had ordered based on the last information we had at the hearing on May 30th was y'all were to get together and come up with a treatment plan and let me know about that. And I've been provided with the treatment plan summary and the master treatment plan this morning. Thank you for sending those. And Ms. Miller, guide us.
Yes, sir. I spoke with Ms. Terry on June 15th, and she basically reported that the child had not made progress in therapy. He continues to steal and lie, and he fights with his peers. She reported something to me that I hadn't realized, that he'd been at Coastal Harbor at least 4 or 5 times. And he's very familiar with Coastal Harbor. And I guess something else she didn't realize, she thought that the DFACS were the custodians, but I in fact told her that mom still had custody of the child, and he was there under mom's insurance. As the court is well aware, and it's on his master treatment plan, he has several psychiatric and medical diagnoses that are very, very serious. There's several treatment issues that they're working on. But the last email that I got, I think it was between Mr. Turnipseed and Ms. Terry and I, is they were trying to make a lateral change to a different facility for Vince, and not keep him at Coastal Harbor. I think they were going to see if they could move him back to Laurel Heights, because he seems to be a bit manipulative with his staff since he's been there so many times, and he doesn't want to change, and he doesn't want to make progress. That's my understanding of kind of what's going on.
But if Laurel Heights was the place he was in when we started, I thought they said they couldn't do anything for him and he didn't need to be there anymore.
That's what I thought, but maybe somebody else can shed some more light on what the lateral move would be and if that is going to take place, because I don't know the answer to that. But he continues to fight and be aggressive with his peers. He's got bipolar, reactive attachment disorder, disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, PTSD, ADHD, intermittent explosive disorder, conduct disorder, and he's on several medications. And I think for his age, this is a lot for the staff to deal with.
You said you had sent a subpoena at their request. So Ms. Terry,
I think that I sent an email, and I think Robin actually sent it out. But yes, I said if she was going to appear, because I talked to their counsel, and they said if she needed to appear for any reason that they needed a subpoena. So I think Robin sent it.
So Vince will be 12 in December. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Terry, is that summary that Ms. Miller gave us, do you agree with that being the status of the
For
case?
the most part, there were, I spoke with the mom on Friday and she clarified a few things for me. She clarified that he had not been here 4 or 5 times as I was led to believe, but he was here recently. I think, he left in, I think it was November, and now he's back, and that's why he's so familiar with staff, along with a lot of his peers. She did clear up the guardianship and that misunderstanding. And I believe she said that there was a place that she was looking at in Tennessee that it's good with RAD. That is their experience, that is their expertise. And so that was a place that we talked about being good for a lateral transfer. Everything else, yes, accurate.
Okay. Is he unable to I don't, the word escapes me. I mean, is he just totally uncooperative and willingly so, or is he got either intellectual or behavior limitations that prevent him from being able to meaningfully participate in therapy?
Your Honor, this is Jamila Watts on behalf of Coastal Harbor. I'm sorry to interject, but my
I
main
forgot
purpose.
to introduce you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
Well, tell us your name and what you do with Coastal Harbor, and I apologize. You were right. You were in the center square of my screen, and I skipped right over you. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine, Your Honor. Thank you for allowing me to speak here. Yes, so I'm representing Coastal Harbor with regard to this subpoena matter, and generally I represent their facility with regard to these types of subpoena matters. And I was kind of added on to this case here a little bit later. And I was able to speak briefly with the therapist on Friday about her understanding of what's kind of transpired here. And just as a matter of course, with a lot of these things, I know that I guess Ms. Miller says she spoke with somebody at Coastal Harbor who said that they needed a subpoena for Kate Terry to appear. But in addition to that, kind of reaching out to me and wanting me to just to make sure that everything was good here, they asked me to take a look at the case and the subpoena itself. And there were some concerns about, privileged material being provided. And, I tried to kind of clear up, who had custody of the child to see if there was any particular waiver of privilege. But I know that there were some concerns with the therapist in particular because, she's obviously the one who's provided therapeutic treatment to the patient. And typically those communications would be privileged. And so
having our campus assembly.
I'm sorry?
I think that was an intercom at your facility. I think somebody's facility. Go ahead. I think.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Thank you, Your Honor. And yes, so because of that, I actually filed. And the thing is, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm not even sure if you received it. I sent this over to Robin Clark. And I did copy, I believe everybody here was copied on it, and it went out on Friday afternoon. So I just filed, as a matter of course, a motion on Coastal Harbor's behalf to quash the subpoena or an alternative, a motion for protective order, just in light of the fact that it wasn't clear to us whether or not there was actually any grounds to proceed with regard to having testimony, and to the effect that the court does require information about the patient, which I understand is needed, and that's important in this case. It does sound like there's some records that have been given over to the court in terms of the treatment plan, but if there is additional information that is needed regarding the patient, we would request that the court, order an in-camera inspection of the full patient chart if that's needed to determine what is in the best interest of the child, and in our case, the patient, and or to have, I know that the child is here and might testify as well.
You're objecting to the child testifying?
No, Your Honor. I'm not objecting to the child testifying. I'm objecting to Ms. Terry having to provide testimony as the child's psychiatrist, since those communications would be privileged.
I'm sorry. I thought she was his therapist. Are you a psychiatrist?
I'm sorry. I meant to say therapist.
Okay. Well, I didn't get your. She just printed it off the computer and handed it to me. Your motion, but we don't have electronic filing, so I don't,
Right, I understand.
it's not technically filed with the court, and it's sort of like
Sure.
The cart after the horse. I mean, we're already here, and we know it's relevant, and the mother is the custodian. She's here. Ms. Nimmer Jackson, are you objecting to these people telling us about your son's treatment?
No, Your Honor.
So I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know.
Yes, I understand. And like I said, it was just a little bit unclear to us about the, custody of the child and who had the right to waive privilege. I will say that, speaking with, our client here, or Ms. Terry rather, I know that she's particularly, with her having, a license to do this kind of work and having that privilege be in place, was a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of having to share that information, with her license being, potentially, in her understanding, on the line with regard to giving that testimony. And so again, I would just request that to the extent that there is information needed about the child in order to make a determination in this hearing, that the court would refer to records of the child. And again, if there are additional records that are needed, Coastal Harbor would be more than happy to provide those records to the court for an in-camera inspection for any determination.
And Judge, I think from our standpoint, she's referring to 49-541 that says it's privileged, and the court basically can say what you just did. Here's a custodian. I'll do the in-camera inspection of the records, et cetera, and then determine. And I think you've already, based on the summary and everything else you've already got part of the record that you have enough information to make a determination. I think Ms. Watts is CYA right now to make sure that Ms. Terry's okay. Then you order her to testify, and therefore she has to testify. I think that's a lot of it. That's just my opinion for what it's worth.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Overman.
Certainly, we do this all the time, Ms. Watts. I know.
Well, I can't do my job if I don't get the information that she has. I don't. Pretty much what I asked her, well, is all I want to know. I don't know. Somebody else may ask a question that she may not be comfortable with in terms of specific disclosures by our client or patient, but I just need to know if he needs to be in another placement and what's being done about it. And is it I'm going to find that we need the information, and the case is within the province of the court's jurisdiction, and the court cannot conduct his affairs in this case without receiving the testimony from Ms. Terry. And if anyone has any, including Ms. Terry, if you have any, or your counsel have any specific problems with a question posed by me or by anybody else, but I think we're sufficiently on sound ground that you can testify, and I need you to testify about this child and his care and his apparently need for more intensive care than he's getting. Is that what you're telling me, Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the facility in Tennessee? This is the first I've heard about that.
No, I found out about it on Friday when I was speaking with his mother.
All right. Do you know, you say when you found out that he had not been there 4 or 5 times, he'd only been there once previously, did you look to see if he was discharged successfully or discharged unsuccessfully from treatment then?
He was discharged successfully.
Okay. So you would say he's regressed since he was there last?
I would say that he had hit a borderline before where he had progressed as much as he could, and then he was released, and now he's back and he's the same borderline.
And he's not making any progress at all?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And he has no, that you're aware of from your interaction with him, he doesn't have any intellectual or behavior limitations that prevent him from making progress?
Correct.
Is he just hard-headed?
He has no motivation at this time.
Mhm.
He's more focused on how he can manipulate people to get what he wants.
What is it that he wants?
Talkies, shoes, clothes, games.
Just at just impulse. Whatever the impulse of the moment is what he wants, and he works very hard at getting it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's what I'm hearing you say. Does anybody else have any questions for Ms. Terry? The reason I asked you questions first is I was trying to, I mean, you're welcome to stay with us for the duration, but I was going to let you leave if people were through asking you questions.
Hey, Judge.
Sure.
Ms. Terry, how long has he been at the facility at this time? About.
He was admitted 5/4/23.
He's been there almost a month.
Yes, sir.
Do you see that there's the ability for the facility to work with him? You said you've worked with him about a month. Do you think staying at the facility presently, other than housing him there, and that's a bad term to use, do you see that that there can be some progress made, or do you, in your professional opinion, do you think he needs to go to another facility, or would that do any good? I guess is a good way to put it.
In my opinion, he needs to go to another facility. He's very familiar with the staff here. He's also familiar with half the patients that have not discharged since he was here a few months ago. And if someone does not have motivation, I can't do much at all. I can't do the work for them. I'm trying to provide motivation, but I can't make him do it.
And I know you said you found out on Friday there was another facility in Tennessee that they're looking at. Are there any other facilities under that facility that mom can work with to have the coordination between Coastal and them to transfer the child that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of at the moment.
Okay. So it looks like, not putting words in your mouth, Tennessee is probably the best next option if they're willing to take him and work with him.
It sounded great.
Okay, great. That's good. Thank you, Judge. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Terry?
No, sir.
Any objection to excusing her? I could tell her eyes lit up when I told her she could stay for the rest. She wants to be here.
No, I do have a question. Your
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Aside from Vince's lack of motivation, are there any other incidents or challenges that have happened there at Coastal Harbor since he's been there since, I think you said 5/4/23? Is that correct?
Yes, 5/4/23. There have been a few incidences with violence and with sexual behaviors.
And what has the facility done to deal with that?
We have staff here 24/7. He's monitored 24/7. We de-escalate. We do take away privileges, although we also have several incentive programs to help out with behaviors as well. Staff is well aware of him. They're also well aware of his manipulating. So they're there constantly to break up anything, prevent anything, watch him. That's why he can't be left alone at any point in time within our facility.
And has he ever required any sort of medical involvement, like a PRN injection or anything like that since he's been there?
I believe once or twice. I would have to look back and get you a more specific answer.
Okay, and are you aware of, I guess, the last time when there was a challenge that had to be, that required medical intervention, I guess?
I would have to look
How long
back.
ago was, okay. Your Honor, I know we're still talking with Ms. Terry, but my client has informed me that the Tennessee facility in question has already denied him. So I don't know if that's something that, where we could try again and the DFACS could assist or anything like that, but that's just a point of information.
Okay,
for the
thank
board.
you.
I don't have a PRN being used this month. That's as far as I've gotten so far.
Are you talking about some kind of injectable sedative to calm him down?
Yeah, not one has been used this month.
Okay. But you have, in the 2 months he's been there, you think it's been used this visit, not the last time?
I don't see it being used.
Okay.
So,
All right.
there we are. I'm sorry, I was unprepared for that one.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
Now, can Ms. Terry be excused? Any
Yes,
objection?
Judge, as far as the department's concerned, certainly.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Now she's going to beg me to stay. You're welcome to stay and you're welcome to leave. Thank you for your help. And Ms. Watts, the same for you. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave with her. We've got another person on your staff who's sitting with the child and she may be asked some questions. So if you need, I don't think your motion addressed her. But I guess, you mentioned specifically Ms. Terry.
Correct, Your Honor. Yes.
So you're welcome to stay with us. You stay long enough, we'll have you serve us lunch. You can order a pizza for us and we'll give you where to call.
I will bow out, Your Honor, and I appreciate you entertaining the last minute motion.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how many juvenile courts are set up for electronic filing, but
Yeah.
we are not.
Right. No, I've run into that before. Trust me. Thank you,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Thank y'all. Ms. Terry, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What else do y'all want me to know about before we talk to Vince and Ms. Wagner?
Judge, the department, I don't think there's anything from us other than the fact that he's where he needs to be and needs to be in a facility. The question is there another facility that can take him and Coastal can coordinate with that? That's the only thing I need from the department's view of where we are. It certainly doesn't do any good to have the department take custody because we can't do anything else other than what Mom is doing. And we appreciate Mom trying to find facilities to do that. Other than that, I think that's all the department would have, if I'm not mistaken.
Anything else before I talk to Vince?
Your Honor, I think that we would respectfully disagree with Mr. Overman as far as defects custody is concerned. I think Coastal Harbor made it very clear that when they admitted they thought that the child was in defects custody, and that is the trouble that Ms. Nemar Jackson ran into the last time when she tried to get him on her own, and so I think that the department could assist with placement because the mother has not been able to secure another option for him.
And of course, Judge, respectfully, we can assist, we will assist. But as far as custody is concerned, I don't think we will certainly help her try to find a facility. And of course, the facility said that the department has to take custody or they would take the child. That's a different story. But most of the time they're interested more in insurance. I hate to put it that way. But sounds like her insurance is good, and we would use that insurance anyway. But I certainly understand Ms. Brenson's position on this as far as that goes, but that would be our position. So certainly I think Vince has a say in all this.
What was the reason, Ms. Nemar Jackson, that the place in Tennessee said they couldn't accept him or wouldn't accept him?
Your Honor, they said they wouldn't accept him because of his aggression and the fact that he killed our household pet. And so they said that he was too aggressive. And then the placement that he was at, they kept giving him, he required the PRN injections. And so they didn't want to take him. So they denied him.
Okay.
And he was on a waiting list for Devereaux and youth villages prior to him being accepted at Coastal Harbor, which I tried to get him with Coastal Harbor, but they said as long as I had custody, they were not going to accept him. So
Wait, I'm sorry. Who said they weren't going to accept him as long as you were the custodian?
That was Coastal Harbor, Your Honor.
Coastal Harbor.
Well, he's been there for 2 months. What happened?
He has, but Your Honor, they thought that DFACS had custody. Mom was excluded initially from any sort of information or anything like that because they thought that DFACS had custody. And that was, I think, the testimony here today, that they were confused about who had custody and thought that it was DFACS. I think that had the mom tried on her own, she would have run into the problem she ran into before, where they were not willing to take him on.
But he was in her custody the first time he was there, wasn't he?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was that another one?
Well, I didn't, nobody from there said that, I mean, they did say they didn't initially, they were confused. They didn't know that defects didn't have custody, but they didn't say that that made a difference in whether or not they could treat him. They gave arguably plausible explanation why he wasn't a fit there because of his prior experience. And he knew the staff, he knew a lot of the participants, and he was manipulative and he wasn't progressing. I don't know, but anyway. Mr. Turnipseed, they said you knew something about the facility in Tennessee.
I knew nothing about the facility in Tennessee. All I knew about was what Mom just told you about Deveron Youth Villages and the child being on the way through. We did discuss a lateral move, but that was something that Coastal Harbor was looking into. They didn't give me any facility that he may or may not be able to transition to.
Well, what facility said they weren't going to take him unless he was in defects custody?
Yeah, I mean, that was Coastal Harbor, but as you
Okay.
pointed out, they did take him this time.
So he's still waiting on Devereaux and Youth Villages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Devereaux has had a good reputation for a long time. I haven't had any kids get in there lately, but it's pretty much, they handled the most severe. Did they say he was eligible other than they didn't have a bed? Is that why he's on the waiting list?
They just had him on the waiting list to find a bed. They didn't say anything else, Your Honor.
When did they tell you he was on the waiting list?
When he was at Laurel Heights, I want to say prior to him going to Laurel Heights this last time, Piedmont Henry, because that's where he was first.
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking around, and so they sent it to Coastal Harbor, to Laurel Heights, to Devereaux Youth Village, all the area facilities, and Youth Villages and Devereaux said they had a waiting list. Laurel Heights accepted him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they haven't contacted me. They said they would contact me when a bed becomes available, and I haven't been contacted yet. When I called Youth Villages to find out if a bed was available, they said no, that they would contact me. And so I haven't been contacted. It's been about a month now.
Okay. Well, can you defects people make contact with those facilities and tell them that this placement he's in now, they're recommending that he not stay there? It doesn't sound like they've officially kicked him out, but that might come down the pike sooner than later. I don't know.
We will certainly try to facilitate. I think everybody knows he needs to be in a facility, and we certainly can try to look around and help Mom look around to see if we could find a bed. But I think that's the extent of where we are right now. We can't do much different than Mom can, other than we will try to help her and to help us. But certainly, it sounds like Coastal is not going to kick him out, but they would think it'd be better for him if he moved to another facility. That would just be my opinion. Would you agree with that, Demiso, Ms. White?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we do that, Demiso? Can you look into that, or somebody needs to be responsible to look into that and see if we can find facilities, help Mom find facilities since she has custody.
Mr. Turnipseed, if you're talking, I can't hear you. I don't know if,
We don't know what's going on. Can you coordinate that, Jennifer?
Yes,
him.
I'm able to myself.
Okay. Judge, we will do as you suggested or whatever we can do to help mom and work with mom. I think the MISO is already doing that. So we will see what we can do to find another facility. But I do think you're correct. Coastal's not going to kick him out, but they think it'd be better for him if he moved.
all right. Well, I'm not going to give custody to the department, not at this stage. So, because he'll end up in a hotel room and he doesn't need to be there.
We agree.
But y'all let me know back by next Monday what progress you've made so I can see if I need to schedule another hearing. Anything else we need to address? I need to talk to the child. I told him I'd come back and talk to him. Before I bring him back, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, Judge, not that we're aware of.
No, sir.
Hey, can you turn on your microphone? Yeah, there we go. Hey, Ms. Wagner,
Yes, sir.
thank you for being patient. I hope you didn't think we forgot about you. We didn't.
No problem.
Vince,
Yes, sir.
how are you doing?
Good.
You've been at Coastal Harbor for about 2 months. So tell me something. Well, maybe 1 month. I was thinking it was. Anyway, you've been there about a month. When you're in school, do you get grades like A, B, C, D?
No, sir.
What kind of grades do you get in school?
F's?
F's?
Not always F's.
Okay. Well, so you know they grade on A, B, C, D, F, right? And you get a lot of F's. Okay. So,
Not all the time.
sir, not all the time. Okay. Well, tell me. The reason I'm asking you that, I want to make sure you understand my next question, which is, since you've been at Coastal Harbor this second time, how would you grade yourself on following the rules and working with your therapist and making progress from A to F? How would you grade yourself?
You said my behavior?
I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Could you get him closer to the microphone, please?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. I said, since you've been at Coastal Harbor, how would you grade yourself in terms of how you followed the rules and worked on your therapy with your therapist since you've been there? Would you grade yourself A, B, C, D, F? Not real good?
No. No, sir.
Is there a reason you don't try to do better? You've been there. They told me you've been there before, so you know the rules. And
I do try to do good so I can go home.
yeah.
But yesterday, I tell you what happened yesterday.
Did you get in trouble yesterday?
Yes, can I tell you what happened?
Yeah, sure.
I really don't want to say this, but I had stole Sprite. Sprite.
Okay.
And I'm still cookies.
Well, they're working very hard to try to help you so you can get better to go home and they say you're not making a whole lot of progress, that you can do better. So will you try to do better?
Yes, sir.
Did you say yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we need you really to try harder, because they tell me that you're not making any progress to speak of, very little.
Please bring eligible patients to the gym for assembly. 1 north, 2 north, and 1 west. Please bring eligible patients to assembly.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for Vince or for his case manager, Ms. Wagner?
No, sir.
No, Judge.
Ms. Wagner? What,
Yes, sir.
give me, in a nutshell, what advice can you give Vince so he can strive to do better in your program?
I would definitely say to keep trying. I mean, I've seen his behavior improve. So I definitely know that he's capable of doing better. I would just like to see him try a little bit harder.
Okay.
'Cause he
Can you do
definitely
that,
can.
Vince?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We need you to, really. Okay. All right. Well, I'll look to get that report from the lawyers by the first of the week. And we'll probably be talking to you again on Zoom in the not too distant future, Vince. Okay. And I hope I get a better report about how much better you're doing. Okay. Now that I know from Ms. Wagner thinks that you can do better. Okay. So if you work at it, I know you can. Okay. All right. We'll conclude the hearing. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, Judge. Jennifer, we'll talk later on this week, okay? DeMiso,
Okay.
staff.
Thank you.
okay? Thank you.